absurdity. Fight to stay alive. Maintain your dignity. It's the ethical underground. Thoughts for a freer earth. It's time for another round against the systems of death. Thinking caps. We can talk this through. The ethical underground is for thinking people like you. Join the resistance. Join the resistance. Join the resistance. Yeah! Laughing his ass off. Join the resistance. It's the Ethical Underground, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's for people like you. That's right, everybody. Welcome. Join the resistance. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're alive. Thank you for being here. You know, Chip is unterwegs, as we say in the business. He's unterwegs. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful day. My name is Sky Jack Morgan. I'm an independent news and culture commentator, free speech and critical thinking advocate. And this is the show called Ethical Underground, where we try to get a little deeper. Because some like it deep. Some like it hot. Some like it deep. It's just it's a whole thing. So it's just you and me today. So I'm flying solo, man. So I wanted to do a whole episode about borders. A whole episode of just about borders. And the ethics of borders. It's a really big topic, but we're going to blast through it, man. So that next time someone tries to tell you that somebody closed the border, you can be like, wait a second. What the hell does that mean? Because I'm very, very upset. I was talking to everybody yesterday on the Saturday stream about how everyone seems to be like, well, he closed the borders. No, he didn't. No, he did not. The borders were never open. And they are not closed now. They are in this weird, they exist because we have a threat. What is a border, I guess we should ask. It's always been a piece of technology for regulating movement. That's what it is. That's what a border is. It's a threat saying if you move where I say you can't, you will die, or we're going to slow you down. At least we're going to make it so that the speed only goes to the wealthy, powerful, rich elite. The speed of capital is the speed at which the rich live, but we move at the speed of borders, razor wire, bureaucracy, stampers, show me your papers. We move at that speed. That's how they control us. And this is a piece of technology that controls us. That's it. It really isn't that much, but we're going to go into why people think it's well, we have to have it in order to be a nation. We have to have it to be this or that or the other thing. All of us, we all depend on borders so much. We're going to talk about that. But again, the wealthy, they have no border. They have no delay. They have no friction. We get the friction. It's a technology for that. We move at the speed of walls, wires, concentration camps and courts. And you know that courts move slowly, unless, of course, you're rich. Then you got to get your case heard right away for some reason. You ever notice that? The border doesn't slow everyone equally. It sorts the world by velocity of belonging. And this is the idea of this velocity of belonging that I want to keep talking about today, because I want to make sure that we keep going back to that, because the drama sphere is real. Who made these goddamn rules anyway, says Positrack. Well, I'll give you three guesses. And the first two don't count. Who do you think made up these rules? Do you think it was the Bo folk? You think it was the serfs and feudalism that were like, I want to be owned by these people? You think it was them? I don't think so. Anyway, the border's not a piece of geography. That we can all agree, right? There's no such thing as a border. It's not actually there. It's just hierarchy with a fence around it. And we're going to talk about whether or not that's ethical today, because this is the ethical underground, and that's how we roll. Not me. Well, that's the other thing. Did you consent to this? I didn't consent to this. I was born in this one place completely randomly, and that makes me somehow an inheritor. I'm the heir of certain rights. I am the heir of certain debts. That's bullshit. I didn't do this. Do you think let me ask you in the chat, do you think that the nation state has the moral right to control who crosses its borders? And if it does, where does that right come from? And can it be overridden? Does the nation state have the right to control who crosses its borders? I don't think so. Who gave them that right? Do they have a moral right to do so? How is it possible for a nation state to have a moral right to control others, especially in a place like the United States of America, where we assume that we can travel between states without friction? Why then would we not have that same idea for all borders? I mean, the whole reason why we say, okay, well, we're all United States, we're going to be able to travel wherever we want to go, but not everybody can travel. It used to be, the idea at least, was that people could come to America too, that our borders were open. But of course, that didn't last long. I don't think it was ever actually a thing. Maybe it was just a myth they told us in middle school, a middle school myth, you know. But if it doesn't have that moral right, then who replaces that? And what does that actually look like? Smoking Blondie says, good morning. Well, good morning. Good morning. Is it morning for you where you are already? Is it still morning? Right now, it's super early over here. It's so hot. Coffee's hot. I'm almost out of my crappy coffee. We're going to be switching to tea here pretty soon, just so I don't have to buy any more coffee. I'm trying to be frugal, trying to get through all my stuff so that when I move, we don't have those problems. You know, you don't want to move. You don't want to move cans of coffee. You know what I mean? Anyway. There's three things to keep separate here, like immigration policy, how many from where and what process. We have border enforcement, which is walls, detention, and deportation, and the ethics of the border itself, which is what we're really talking about, the moral legitimacy of the category. So that's what we really want to talk about, the ethics, the moral legitimacy of borders at all. So open borders. Open borders does not mean you don't have a nation. It does not mean you don't have a law. It does not mean you don't have community. Open borders does not take that away. It means movement itself is not a crime. That's what borders mean, that you could go wherever you want to go. That's all open borders means, that you're not in jail anymore. It doesn't mean there's no more laws or community or nation. No one is saying that, except maybe those communists. Except maybe those dirty communists. I should have Jeremy Loeb on show on Sundays. I'd be happy to try. It's hard to get people to show up. I'll be happy to ask. I'll check my Instagram. I don't usually check Instagram, everybody. If you want to get to me, something in the community tab always works. Always put in the community tab of YouTube, and I will see it. I try not to Zuckerberg. You know what happens when you're Zuckerberging late at night? You ever be in your bed late at night Zuckerberging? You're sitting there late at night, just blah, 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 blah. Just they call it doom scrolling, but it really should be called Zuckerberging. Like that should be the verb. I'm Zuckerberging, man. I'm Zuckerberging all night, man. Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, boss. I'm real tired. What? Why? Is everything okay? Yeah, I was just Zuckerberging all night last night, man. I was in bed Zuckerberging. You guys been Zuckerberging? I deleted Instagram from my phone. Yeah. You should have Jeffrey Phillips. Jeffrey Phillips was supposed to be on today. I asked him to come on today, but he could not. Jeffrey Phillips, I did reach out to Jeffrey Phillips. But he couldn't. He's not in the paper. But he wants to come in next week. Jeffrey Phillips wants to come on next week. I was Zuckerberging. I've been Zuckerberging too much, man. I was up all night. My eyes felt like sandpaper. I was Zuckerberging all night, man. Ah, shit. I got caught Zuckerberging again at school. I mean, he controls Facebook and Instagram. What else are you doing on there? Right? I guess you could be TikToking, but hey, that's Zuckerberging too. If you're doom scrolling on TikTok, I call that Zuckerberging. Because it's Ellisoning. It doesn't quite work. Ellison. The Ellisons own TikTok, the same people that own Paramount Plus, who are right now setting up to broadcast the UFC fight. Are you excited, everybody? Are you excited? Anyway, I deleted IG from my phone. I can't do IG. I still post to IG. And I'll look if somebody tells me like, oh, I sent you something on Instagram, I'll bring it up on my computer or through the browser on my phone. But I love because you could still Zuckerberg through the browser if you want. It works quite well, but there's something about having to open up the browser and not having that app to like that app that you get to. I really like it. I don't think anybody should be Zuckerberging past midnight. It's the new Gremlins rules. Don't give them any water. Don't let any sunlight hit them. And whatever you do, do not let them Zuckerberg past midnight. A lot of opponents conflate open borders with total statelessness. And that's not what I'm talking about today, by the way, guys. We're not talking about Muskenberger. Yeah, but no one knows what Muskenberger. Zuckerberging. Open borders does not necessarily mean statelessness. For myself, I believe in statelessness, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the ethics of borders. The case for open borders. Why would you be banned, Share Hair? What is it with you guys today? What is it? I'm here by myself without Chip, and you guys are. Am I banned? Why would you be banned? Not yet. My estranged sister of 7 years is interacting with my TikTok posts. Maybe she's reaching out. Maybe she's trying to, maybe it's an olive branch. You know, maybe it's an olive branch. A branch of olives. Could be. Could be a branch of olives. Careful about olive branches. I don't think olives normally have thorns, but sometimes they seem to. Sometimes those olives. Don't forget, you can't just eat olives off the branch. You got to treat them with lye. You have to basically soak them for ages in order to make olives even edible. It's incredible that people even ever figured it out. Feudalism, the feudalism of Joseph Carens. See, the thing about birthplaces is that it's morally completely random. You are not a country with open borders. See, this is exactly what I just said. Well, stick around. Stick around. See if you still agree in the end. Of course, you're a country with borders. You're still a nation. There's lots of nations that have no borders. There's still a few left. There have been many, many nations with no borders, but there's still many. There's still a few. Still a few nations that have no borders. Where you're born is completely random, and it's completely morally arbitrary. A system assigning life prospects by birthplace is modern feudalism. If you are born at a certain place, you're owned by this country. Think about what that means. Feudalism meant if you were born on the lord's land, that lord owned you. You belonged to them because you belonged to the land. Isn't that the same thing as today? You belong to the land. Feudal serfs, they couldn't even move anywhere, and so can't the global poor. They're not allowed to go anywhere either. They are bound to their nation states. If you're born in Sri Lanka, you can't leave. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Is that freedom? So many Americans claim to believe in freedom. They believe in liberty, but that's a lie. They don't believe in liberty and freedom. They believe in feudalism, or whatever counts as feudalism these days, like mercantilism. It's a wild thing that we still do. The only difference is planes and papers instead of lords and manors. They're open-air prisons indeed, but it's just like feudalism. You're just not allowed to leave. And even if you could leave, where are you going to go? No one will take you. You belong to somebody else. You can't go anywhere anyway. Even if you wanted to leave. It's funny that I'll get to the International Human Rights list. One of the human rights is to be able to leave your country. But there's no corresponding thing. That doesn't mean anything. You're allowed to leave, but you can't go anywhere. No one will let you in. Then you can't leave because of these idiotic borders, because they're the ones that control how fast you can go. The rich have no friction. They have no borders. Kevin O'Leary has 4 passports. One of them's Emirati. He's Canadian, Emirati. I think he's got English. I don't know. All these guys have multiple passports, can fly anywhere they want to go, but none of us can because we don't have the proper paperwork. You don't have the proper paperwork. But imagine if you could decide. There's this thing called the Rawlsian veil of ignorance, and it means that if you had to sign a contract on how to make the world fair before you were born, and you couldn't tell whether you're going to be born a boy or a girl, an African or an Asian. You have no, or even a cow or a pig, a chicken or a human. You don't know what you're going to be born. So, but you have to design a world that's going to be fair. Now, if you had to decide a world that was going to be fair before you knew if you were going to be born American or African, would you make birthplace the thing that determines your access to medicine, education, safety? Would you do that? Why? You would never do that. That's why borders are totally unethical. Like at the word go, at the word go, the borders are entirely unethical, because to allow an arbitrary line that somebody a long time ago drew determine whether or not you get to see a doctor, whether or not you get to learn how to read, is ridiculous. It's entirely unethical that just because the lottery of birth is whether or not you're allowed to learn how to read. Just be elite, bro. None of the above will apply, broski. Yeah, just be elite. Just be born rich. That's true. You could be born anywhere rich, and then all of a sudden borders don't matter anymore. Sorry, still stuck on Butler. Oh, man, the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. I don't think that a shooting actually, but that's a whole other thing. why Butler, Pennsylvania? Like, anyway, national borders don't survive just basic Rawlsian scrutiny, veil of ignorance stuff, which is like the baseline of ethics. So UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 13 says anyone has the right to leave any country. But what's really funny about that, we consider that a human right, but then we allow our country to tell us when we can leave. So America, we have to get a passport. We have to get a real ID. We have to get all these documents that says, "Mommy, may I please leave the country. But it doesn't matter, because if the other countries won't allow us in, leaving doesn't mean anything. So to have the right to leave is bullshit. To say that's a human right, but going anywhere, no one has a right to leave with nowhere obligated to receive you is a right to nothing. Freedom of movement within nations, like from state to state, is a basic liberty. But then why does a national border change that? Like, we made it freedom of movement from state to state the basic because we believed in liberty, supposedly. But a nation state border, that completely changes everything? Bizarre. Forget about it. Yeah. Are you doing the Tucker? No, I ain't doing no Tucker. I'm me. I ain't my flippant SS number. My name ain't Jack the Ripper. He is me. I am him. You are a number. What do you mean you're not a number? What do you mean you're not a number? Of course you're a number. Why do you think they gave you that number, huh? What do you think they did that to you? Are our state not state? Are our states not states? And there's borders. Wait till that happens. Wait till they start limiting your travel between borders within the United States. It's about to happen. They're already doing it with the real ID. You can't get on a plane unless you got the money for a real ID, and also the access to your birth certificate. But the utilitarians, I know there's a lot of utilitarians watching, and you probably think, but utilitarian, we have to have the utility of borders, right? But the utilitarian. Hey, the music yesterday was awesome. Thanks so much, Tammy Pierce. I appreciate that. I love that type of compliment. Oddly, yesterday's stream did really well for playing guitar. Normally my guitar playing gets like 100 views or something. It got like 700 views. I was really surprised. I don't know why YouTube just decided to push yesterday's stream, the guitar stream. Maybe it was all of you guys commenting so much, or I don't know, but it was really great. You don't have a real ID yet? Then how are you going to fly? You better get one, Smoking Blind. If you don't have a real ID right now, you are in for a world of hurt if things keep going the way they're going. Wait till they make it really hard to get one. Wait till it's impossible to get a real ID, but only people with real ID are allowed to travel. Yeah. Sorry, sir. You didn't get your latest flu shot booster paperwork. You can't fly until you do. Yep. Let's make sure everyone's controlled. Make sure. Not much else to watch. Is that what it was? Not much else to watch. What do you mean there wasn't that much else to watch? It's YouTube. There's a million things to watch on a Saturday morning. Maybe it's just because I did it earlier in the morning. I don't know. Most economists say that all open borders would double world GDP because like economists across the spectrum agree with this, because restricting labor movement is one of the largest economic inefficiencies on the planet. Of course, because where we need workers, we don't have them, and where we have workers, we don't need them. That is stupid. Open borders would mean anybody who's willing and able will go to where the work is, where there's work to be done. They will learn how to do stuff. People want to leave. People want to go. This is how humanity spread across the planet, because they just moved around. And now all of a sudden we've locked it down. We've separated ourselves from our humanity. We said our humanity doesn't matter anymore. Let's put a wall up. Let's put a fence up. Let's put razor wire up, making sure these humans can't move around. When that is our nature. That's what makes us human beings. We love moving around. We love going places. We got these two long legs and we love moving. We love just packing up our shit and going. That's something that is obvious. Human beings crawled out of Africa and somehow spread to every goddamn square inch of this planet because we like moving around. And then some asshole said, well, I'm going to control you. I'm going to control. We can't let people move because people are very difficult to control when they're able to move. But the GDP, the global GDP would double with open borders. Remittances already outpace foreign aid as transfers from rich to poor nations. Who bears the cost of closed borders? The poorest people on earth. The poorest people on earth, they're the ones who pay the price. Borders are to people what tariffs are to goods, except we abolished most tariffs and we called it progress. That was Michael Clemens, famous economist, that borders are to people what tariffs are to goods. We've abolished most tariffs and we called it progress. Ain't that something? The utilitarian Michael Clemens talking about why we should no longer have borders, because we like people to get what they need. Because we like money. We like the economic impact of open borders. Remittances, like non-commercial transfers of money sent by foreign workers or diaspora members to individual families or households in their home countries. They represent a vital global economic lifeline. Can you imagine that? That remittances outpace. So, like, if somebody comes to your country and they're working and they're sending money home, that money far outpaces foreign aid as transfers from rich to poor nations. Think about this. People sending money back home to mama is more than all of the foreign aid that the governments provide. People take care of people. The nation states do not. If you allowed more people to move around, people would bring their whole families with them. Then you wouldn't have to. Then the money would stay here. The money would stay right here. But no, we're only going to let you in. Or actually, we're not going to let you in, any of you in, but one of you might be able to sneak in. All abuela and everybody else has to stay home. So this guy's going to come here and make money and send it back home. And that's going to outpace foreign aid. It's crazy. That is so crazy to me. Don't a country's services get overwhelmed? Do long-term visitors pay taxes? All visitors pay taxes in some way, shape, or form. Anybody who spends money pays a tax. The taxes, they're getting their money. Don't worry about the tax man. They're getting their money fine. What services, I ask? What service do you mean? What government services are we so worried about losing? What government services are we losing or thinking about getting overwhelmed in America? Which ones? I'd love to know which ones we think. Which ones do we think are being overwhelmed? So they're actively devaluing our currency. No, we are actively devaluing our currency because of our idiotic immigration policies. Remittances outweigh foreign aid. If you allowed people to come here, then the money would stay here. If you made it simple, if you had open borders, people would come here and they would spend their money here rather than send it back home. We have a labor shortage. Again, exactly right. Restricting labor movement is the largest economic inefficiency on the planet. But we still restrict labor. Why? To control people, so that nation states can control you. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. And unemployment somehow. Yep. Like police, fire, lodging. Lodging, again, people who bring in people who are here, they're paying to be here. They can't overwhelm a system that they're contributing to, right? So like if you come in, that's always a big argument. Like they'll come in and they'll take all the jobs. Well, actually, every time you have people come in, if they come in instead of mass migration, that's always a problem. If people come in like 1 million at a time, it's hard. That's true. But that's not how it works with open borders, right? With open borders, people are coming and going at will. It's not like there's a churn. It's not like until there's an economic disaster or an ecological disaster in like an island gets taken out by a hurricane, and now you've got 10 million people moving to Idaho. Like that shit will overwhelm a system, but that's not usually how it works, right? Those are extreme circumstances. How it would normally work if the status quo were open borders is that people come, they buy shit, they move into homes, they need jobs, they start working, they start building homes, they start opening businesses. The shops that already exist are selling more stuff. It ends up churning the economy going better, because don't forget, the people who are coming in aren't just consumers, they're also producers. Human beings produce stuff. That's how our GDP continues to grow, because we are attractive to other countries to come here as laborers. That's how our GDP goes up. And that's not all the only way, but it's a huge way for the economy to keep spinning. We need the money to turn. We need that money to move around. Like the currents, like the ocean currents of the world control the climate and change the climate and have this kind of something like a balance. That's how money works. We need the money to move around. Capitalists would love free roving, low pay labor. That's exactly right. They would. But our GDP would double. Sky thinks the market will solve these issues. It won't. It does. It totally does. The market completely supplies. The market completely solves the issue. Why wouldn't it? Every utilitarian agrees that open borders would double the world's GDP. Double it. I hate showing my ID when I travel. Should we get rid of that too? Yes, you should. Yeah, you should. You shouldn't have to show your ID when you travel. Why should anyone have to see your ID when you travel? The state ID? Fuck that. No, you shouldn't have to show ID when you travel. Why should you? Are you free or are you not free? Do you believe in freedom or you don't believe in freedom? Do you believe in liberty or don't believe in liberty? These are your options. Do you believe in these things as principles, or do you think that are you afraid of the world? You think that liberty is not important? Closed borders say that someone said this earlier, completely out of my depth. Sure, yeah, I'm completely out of my depth. Of course. Oh, May, why do you even come here? May can't even comprehend. Doesn't get it. Yes. Doesn't even get it. Please explain to me how when you remove money from a system, it's not about devaluing that system. Dude, exactly. This is why you're stupid. The reason why remittances are outpacing foreign aid. The reason why remittances are outpacing foreign aid is because of closed borders. Moron. We have closed borders, so instead of allowing an entire family to move to America or wherever the hell they're going, we don't allow anybody. Just one sneaks in, makes all the money they can, and sends it back home. Do you see? We already have closed borders. We've always had closed borders. At least in modern times. We've always had closed borders in modern times. And so very few people are allowed in. And when they come in, they send their money back home. It didn't used to be like that. Whole families would show up in America, or some people would come. They try to get more people to come in so that they could stay here as a family unit. But instead, our closed border system globally wants to harm people. They want to split up families. They like that. They like the control. It's entirely unethical. And May, you're an unethical person, so I'm not really sure why you're here, but thanks. Yes. Community self-determination. Michael Walzer said that communities had the right to shape their own membership. This is foundational to self-governance. Do you agree? A community that can't control its composition can't sustain the shared meanings that make it a community. This is something you hear a lot of white nationalists say. A community that can't control its composition can't sustain the shared meanings then make it a community. Is that true? I can't let anybody else sit at my lunch table because I have to control this community. Admissions decisions are constitutive. They define what the community is. Walzer says he's not a nationalist, but he supports admitting refugees and families, but the community has the final say. Walzer assumes current community preferences are legitimate, but what if it was built on conquest and exclusion? See, this is the problem. These communities weren't built like they weren't built legitimacy. They were built through colonialism. Nations are communities of shared obligation, not just administrative units. We didn't just build communities to control people. That's not a community. Is a family. You owe something to it and it owes something to you. These are relationships. This is the ethics of care. This is like bell hooks, you know. Citizens have special obligations to each other they don't have to the world at large. You cannot have unlimited movement and unlimited social provision simultaneously. It's true. Social provision unlimited social provision might not be able to be simultaneous with unlimited movement. Chair hair. Do most PhDs spend their time in YouTube chats? Some PhDs do. Yes. It's so funny when people tell me they have a PhD on the internet. Really, you do? Really? I know lots of people with PhDs. I know a lot of people with PhDs, and you ain't one. It's always so funny to me. I have a PhD in the YouTube chat. The logic of political community. The state's primary obligation is to its members, not racism. But the welfare state argument is the strongest mainstream case for restricted borders. But here's the thing: it's sure people say that we might have a problem if we allow open borders and it will overrun our services. But again, I live in America. Our services are meager. We don't have many services. Our cops are not overwhelmed. Already 8,000 cops to patrol Los Angeles. They're not overwhelmed. If you don't want to have violence and hunger, you make sure people have enough. But that means you need to be able to work wherever you want to work. That's all. It's that hard. It's that easy. Like this idea that our welfare state, what welfare state? We need to protect the welfare state. What welfare state are you talking about? It's a good argument, but this idea that our fire department is going to be overrun, or I think it's a bit ridiculous, because again, when you have more people, fire departments get bigger. You have more people paying property tax. Fire departments become better equipped. More firefighters because there's more people. But again, with open borders, people are moving around. They don't constantly. It's not like one place just gets massive out of nowhere. Sometimes it will, but not usually. You'll have boom towns and stuff like that, but overall, those boom towns rise and they fall and people move on. We've got lots of ghost towns in America. They weren't overrun. People are so smart, don't argue. Yeah, people who are smart don't argue that they're smart. Yeah, it's true. Like a doctor isn't always a medical doctor. Medical doctors can be really stupid too. I don't know if you know this, but medical doctors can be really fucking stupid. I've met lots of stupid medical doctors. I've met lots of stupid PhDs. I mean, there's this one astrophysicist named Neil deGrasse Tyson who thinks that he needs to weigh in on trans rights. Like, get back to astrophysics. You know what I mean? You might be smart at planets and shit. You speak kind of eloquently and even inspirationally about the glories and miracles of the universe, but I don't need you to weigh in on trans rights, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, it's always so funny that somebody who's good at psychology wants to be a philosopher, and philosophers want to be good at astrophysicism. Actually, wait a second. Philosophers don't do that. It's always funny that there's something about medical doctors and the hard sciences makes them think they're good at everything. I do math really well. I should I should weigh in on the humanities. No. Or I'm a lawyer. I should give my take on films. I should review films, like Ben Shapiro reviewing films. Worst idea ever. Worst idea ever. He's only space smart. He is. He's only space smart. That's all. Hospitals are overrun because the healthcare system is broken. That's true. And they're not even overrun most of the time, right? They're only overrun in certain neighborhoods where they're underfunded. They're not overrun in rich white neighborhoods, Smoking Blondie. Hospitals are not overrun there. They're not overrun. They're only overrun when they're free clinics and shit in poor places. They're not overrun in Beverly Hills. An honest doubter wants everyone to show their papers. Interesting. I thought you were against the show your papers. Show me your papers. Papers, please. Population influx does not make that even worse. No. Everyone comes in and is sick all of a sudden? That's not true. And again, populations don't just explode overnight. Open borders does not mean you have all of a sudden nation states are just empty. People don't move like that. They move slowly. There's population booms, but they don't get overwhelmed. For some reason, America had this huge population boom for, well, multiple population booms, and somehow we never got overrun. How strange. Huh. But rapid demographic change can destabilize social cohesion. That's true. But at the end of the day, people who come in, they end up becoming part of your community, and those places change over time, like they should. You're supposed to evolve. You know, your interest in cultural continuity is fine, but culture is almost always maps into ethnicity in practice. That's what people really talk about. They're talking about ethnicity, not culture. Historically, arguments used to justify racial exclusion laws are always the ones about legitimate interests in cultural continuity. It always goes back to race. The protected culture is a product of migration and mixing. That's what the protective culture is. It's a little ridiculous to think that migration itself is going to destroy your culture. Your culture was founded on migration. That's what created your culture. Your culture wouldn't exist without migration. And now you're like, that's enough. Pull up the ladder behind us. We won't let anybody come in. Bring in more people like Trump. Perfect. You want that Trump watch? An honest doubter, you're not for freedom then. Then why should anyone feel bad for you? You don't want to get the vaccine. Maybe you should be forced to get the vaccine. Clearly, you're not a man of principle if you think that open borders aren't good, because you're the one who argues for freedom. You don't want anyone forcing you to do anything. You don't want anyone forcing you to get the vaccine, because you have to get the vaccine or else the hospitals will be overrun. That was their argument. You're making the same argument. We have to have borders or else the hospitals will get overrun. You have to get the vaccine or else the hospitals will be overrun. There you go. But the mainstream positions are always missing something fundamental. Every nation allows certain numbers of legal immigration. That ain't freedom. Every nation. Yes. Yes, you are a hypocrite. Yes, absolutely, you're a hypocrite. Absolutely. No, I didn't say you're a hypocrite. You're just not a man of principle. You just think for me, but not for thee, or for thee, but not for me. I don't want you to tell me to get vaccines because your arguments aren't sufficient, but I should be allowed to tell other people to not be able to travel, not be able to move around, not be able to feed their families, not be able to work what they want to do, not be able to pursue their own happiness, their own destination, do whatever they want in life. I want to limit other people's freedoms because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid of a scenario that I've concocted in my own head. I'm afraid of a scenario that I've concocted. Sounds a lot like the vaccine. I'm afraid that if we don't get everyone vaccinated, then the world will crumble and the hospitals will overflow and children will be dying of the street of COVID and there won't be enough respirators to go around. So everyone must be vaccinated if you want to be part of this community. Sounds pretty similar to me. Both Carens and Walzer accept the nation state as the basic unit of moral analysis, and it seems I don't know why the nation state would be the basic unit of moral analysis. You love the nation state so much. As an anarchist, the nation state itself is not a morally neutral container. It's a system of organized violence. Because that's what a nation state is. The border says that because you're born on that side, you have fewer rights than the people born on this side. You don't believe in rights. You want to ration them. Rationing of rights. We want to ration them. Only some rights for some people because we can't let everybody have rights. We're not allowed to allow everybody to have rights. Bodily autonomy with immigration. What could be more bodily autonomy? What could be more your bodily autonomy is based on the vaccination. That's where it starts and stops. But my freedom of movement isn't bodily autonomy. What? Conflating bodily autonomy with immigration? They're not. I'm not conflating them. They're the same fucking thing. I have the freedom of movement. My bodily autonomy to move. Perhaps we should put people in jail, and that's. I mean, this is why when the state puts you in jail, they have to have a really good fucking reason because they're limiting your movement, right? Jesus, it's always shocking to me that someone who's like anti-vax and wants all these personal freedoms and bodily autonomy and takes this so seriously, and then they're like, immigrants, nah. How could we afford them? What if the firemen have to work harder? What if the firemen have to work harder? So what? You don't care that what if the hospitals have to work harder because you're not vaccinated? So what? How dare you take away my freedom? It's so interesting that you're so interested. It's fascinating to me that state violence is admissible. Crazy. Because that's what the nation state is. It is a system of organized violence. Does the state have the right to close borders? Presupposes that the state has legitimate authority at all. And I guess an honest doubter thinks that the state has ultimate authority. So if the state has ultimate authority, then you should get vaccinated. They said so. Better go get it. Show me your papers. Show me your papers, sir. Philosophically, I'm completely against that because I deny the premise. I deny the premise that the state has ultimate power over me. I don't think it's a legitimate power at all. The state is the altar of political freedom. And like the religious altar, it is maintained for the purpose of human sacrifice. That's Emma Goldman. The state is the altar of political freedom, and like the religious altar, it is maintained for the purpose of human sacrifice. The history of national borders mirrors the history of enclosure, the seizure of common land converted to property. Borders were drawn through conquest, colonialism, and force, not by consent of those enclosed. Accepting the legitimacy of those borders today is accepting the legitimacy of violence that created them. Some people are okay with that. The violence that created them through conquest, that the conquest is perfectly acceptable. But for some reason, capital can cross borders freely. Trade agreements, investment treaties, financial instruments, all that can cross borders. There's not people. Labor cannot. We're trapped behind those same borders over and over again. No one said, maybe you missed the beginning of the thing, Positrack. We do need laws. How could we do so many people agree on certain morality? Again, this has nothing to do with laws. This has to do with the ethics of borders. This is open borders does not mean the elimination of laws. It really doesn't even mean the elimination of nation states. I don't think the nation state is legitimate. So it's just ethically wrong to allow them to close borders and limit our movement. They are using a tool called a border to keep us from moving around. It's a tool of violence. It's a technology to regulate movement. That's all it is. It's all it's ever been. It's a technology to limit your movement. America raped the land of South America to help corporations against other countries' government of citizens. The citizens fleeing the aftermath shouldn't even be a discussion. Let them in. I mean, our foreign policy creates more refugees than anything, but now we don't want asylum seekers, right? We destroy the economies of entire nations, and then when the people of those nations are like, fine, we'll go where the work and the money is, and we're like, no. no, because we don't like brown people. This is a design feature of the system. Virilio said that speed is not neutral. It is always already political. Who gets to move fast is a power question, always. The border is the dromosphere's enforcement mechanism for the global hierarchy of movement. Some people are into that hierarchy. Oh, my house. Give away your house for free, man of principles. You're selling private property and claiming it should all be open. Private property? No, I'm not. I'm selling personal property. Again, do you not know the difference between personal and private property? I'm selling personal property. I'm not selling capital. Private property would be the means of production, something that's making me money, capital. You're not a man of principles. You believe that violence is acceptable. You accept the ultimate power of the nation state. I'm surprised. I'm fucking flabbergasted. I am shocked that you think that the nation state has the authority to control my movement, but you don't think it has the authority to control your vaccination schedule. And you don't think those things are the same. Wow. My house. Yeah, my car too, right? And this stylophone. If I sell this stylophone, I've broken my principles, because this stylophone is an object that I exist within in a market economy. I've purchased this, and therefore it's private property. No, this is my personal property, not private property. Thanks. But for all those people that say, yeah, you do. You're believing you're for state violence because I don't automatically agree with 100% open borders. You haven't made even an argument for it. Yes, I have. The whole point, it is an act of violence, and it is a threat to violence. That's what borders are. That's just what they are. Threatening people. You say, well, no, we're only going to let some people come in, and we're going to ration rights. You're going to ration freedom. You're going to ration liberty. Only some people are allowed to be free. Only some people are allowed to work. Only some people can get educated. Only some people, and we get to decide. That's not violence. That's not violence. That the nation state gets to decide Who gets to learn how to read? Fuck me, man. But for all you guys saying that if you dissolve the borders, you get chaos, anarchism does not mean no organization. It means no coercive hierarchy. Mutual aid networks, federated communities, voluntary associations, border free without being community free. There are lots of examples. The Kurds, for example, they don't have borders. Palestine doesn't really have borders. Wow. they have new borders now. People control their movement, but they didn't have borders. They didn't have borders until someone else came in and drew them for them. Borders or chaos? That's not really the question. Borders or chaos? Who gets to govern movement and by what right is my question. And if you think the nation state is the one who gets to govern your movement, then you've already lost, because the nation state exists as a result of conquest and unspeakable violence. And state control is just the perpetuation of that. It's just the next step and next step and next step. You don't think it has the right to tell you to get your vaccine because that's violence. But telling you to die on the other side of the border, that's not violence. We have free cities, sanctuary movements, indigenous commons. Alternatives actually exist. And the world could actually run that way, but we're going to keep getting people saying that we need order. There'd only be chaos. Imagine freedom. We're not allowed to have freedom, not in America. Free Palestine. Wouldn't that be cool? We have a finite amount of resources, housing, jobs. You can't just weaponize importing tens of million people. Again, Gob just got here. It's not about tens of millions of people, although that will inevitably happen because there will be ecological disasters, tidal waves, Godzilla might attack, and then 10 million people got to move. That stuff does happen, but that's usually not the case. That's the fear-mongers. That's the state lying to you, saying tens of millions of people are pouring across the border, and an unspeakable horror horde of rats, vermin, and other undesirables. That's just what the Nazis say every time, you know. Millions are pouring across the border like a plague of rats. That's always what they say. They say it over and over again. Millions, but they're not. They're not. People generally want to stay where they are. People generally want to be with their families. They move according to resources. They move according to demand. They have to move if people want to work, sometimes they got to go someplace else. It's pretty common, right? Like, I think that Benjamin Franklin was born in Boston, but he had to move to Philadelphia to work. Pretty common, right? We do it all the time. It's pretty common, but we don't believe in that as a basic right outside of our country. We just believe in it here, just for us. But don't leave. You're not allowed to leave the country either without a lot of good reasons. You got to ask the government for the right to do that too. Please, may I get my paperwork to leave, sir? Please. Please. Can I please? Steelman the state if you think I'm wrong. Steelman the state. But you won't. 200 million to 1 billion climate migrants are projected by 2050. You're going to say you're going to keep them all out? By 2050, there will be between 200 million and 1 billion climate migrants moving around the world, trying to figure out where to go next. And you think that we should just let them die? Is that violence? Oh, an honest doubter. Great. No, your house is not okay because that's not the same thing at all. Your house is not a country. People keep on trying to do this shit about your house. What about my house? Your house is not a country. No one's asking anyone to let you in your house. Communities are built of many, many, many houses. And yeah, is it violence to decide who's allowed into your house? I would say that if someone was outside bleeding and they were begging to come inside, and I said no, sorry, the inn is full. I mean, I think there's a story in the Bible about that, right? The inn is full. We're partying. You're not allowed in. Yeah, it could be considered violence, but it's not the same thing. Completely different. But again, if someone were in need and were running from a killer, let's say someone was running from a killer, and all I had to do was open the door and close the doors, and the killer couldn't come in. Yeah, that would be violent if I just said no for no reason. No, I mean, I have no fear of that killer following you in. So yeah, no, I'm just not going to let you. I'm going to watch you die through my peephole. Yeah, I would be morally at fault. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Just to steel man your argument, but again, houses are not countries. The people of the world did not cause the people who are being affected by climate change are not the people who actually put the emissions that displace them into the air. The wealthy world did. See, what's worse is that in the scenario of the house, just to go with you, it's not only that, but I paid the killer to chase you around. And then when you came to my house begging for help, I said no. Yeah, because that's usually how it goes, actually. The reason why people are coming here is because we fucked up their countries. But that's the fact that our nation state fucked up their countries, and now they're refugees trying to come here, and we're like, no. It's messed up. In a way, open borders, the wealthy world has a reparative obligation to receive them. After all, I'm the one who paid the killer. I paid the killer to chase you around. I'm not going to help you. Receiving societies didn't consent and may be overwhelmed. Climate change makes closed borders not just unjust, but obscene. Because in the scenario where someone's got an emergency that I caused, it's a little ridiculous. Elon. Anybody ever tell you look like that turd Elon Musk? It's because he's spending a lot of money to try to look like me. I don't really see it. I think that I actually really wonder about people's eyesight when people say that, but it happens. Elon Musk. Whatever. That people say brain drains, that open borders can drain skilled workers from poor countries to rich ones. It's true, that does happen. A Haitian doctor moving to France may be individually liberated, but collectively catastrophic for Haiti. It's a good argument, right? What do you think about that argument, everybody? The brain drain. If we allow people to come to America, then the people of Haiti will lose their best doctors. The strongest anti-open borders argument from the left. This is from the liberals. The liberals think that if we allow people to come to this country, then people of India will lose all their engineers. And that is bad, right? It hurts their community if we have open borders. That's the way liberals see it. Are you guys liberals? Brain drain is caused by global inequality, not by freedom. If you want people to stay in Haiti as doctors, fix the inequality in your country, fix the inequality in the world. That's what's causing it, not freedom. Everyone always wants to blame freedom for all their problems. You ever notice that? They really do a number on all you guys. Freedom is always what causes all these problems, huh? What about the fire department getting overrun? What about the hospitals filling up? It's always like freedom. You're so afraid of freedom. So terrified of freedom. If the hospitals are overrun, people will figure it out. They'll build tents in the fucking parking lot and still get people served. Communities come together and they fix these problems. But they don't get overrun. That doesn't happen because it's more of a slow trickle and not a tidal wave 95% of the time, 99% of the time. You say you're pro-immigration because you believe in the power of the state. But if you believe in the power of the state, why don't you believe in the power of the state to tell you to get vaccinated? You say you're pro-immigration, but you don't think 100% borders can work. But of course they can work. They worked for millennia, for the overwhelming majority, for 99% of human history. Open borders work just fine. The non-existent borders worked just fine. Of course, that's hypocrisy because you don't recognize the state's power to tell you to get a vaccine, but you recognize the state's power to tell you who can go where when. Sounds like hypocrisy to me. You believe in the power of the state. You think that the power of the state is legitimate. States claim the right to exclude security threats. You got to make sure those dark people don't come in and mess up our country. Security. We got to give security. Those who abandon freedom for security deserve neither. Border control is an extraordinary inefficient security mechanism. Most threats are already inside the borders. That's what's so funny. We think that border security is going to stop the bad guys. The bad guys will get in no matter what. The good guys are the ones you keep out. It's like the gun argument. You know, they said, well, if you make guns illegal, only criminals will have guns. There's some validity to that because bad people will get guns either way. They always end up with guns. Look at England. Guns are illegal. Bad people still got guns and always have. They still have shootouts with police. Far fewer. We don't have many shootouts with police, really. We get shot by police more than anything, but we don't usually have shootouts with police. It's pretty rare. Most police do not get into active shooter situations their whole careers. But bad people still have guns. But we keep all the good ones from having them for some reason. Same thing with the border. We can't let labor come in. No labor's allowed in, but we'll let the cartels in. Because border security is extremely inefficient, extraordinarily inefficient. Security argument used overwhelmingly against economic migrants and refugees are not actually security threats. You liberal. I'm a liberal. I just blasted liberals and this idiot's calling me a liberal. You call me a liberal? I just blasted liberals and now you're still. Okay. Liberals, for example, will say that security, we need to make sure the bad hombres aren't getting in. But here's the thing. Economic migrants and refugees aren't actually the security threats. The security threats are, gang members and cartel members, and they are getting in regardless. They get in no matter what. Keep staying at Earth, soon you'd be under it. What? Keep staying at Earth, soon you'll be under it. Economy grows when jobs increase. That's true. And with more people equals more jobs. More consumers equals more jobs. It's so funny because like when I was a business owner, I remember it'd be like, oh, they're opening a Sky, you're paying taxes to the state while also denying state power hypocrisy? It's coercion. I do it with a gun to my head. So is it hypocrisy? What am I supposed to do? Go to jail? I mean, I haven't paid my taxes yet. I just got a letter from them. I got to send it to my CFO. My CFO, I gotta send this letter. I haven't opened it, but I just got a letter from the IRS. I mean, I don't have a choice. They forced me. They got a gun to my head. I don't agree with them. I did not consent. So no, it's not a hypocrisy. Not at all. No, if you put a gun to my head, I'll be willing to do a lot of things, I suppose. Threatening somebody so that they don't do something is not a hypocrisy on their part. It's tyranny on your part. That's it. So I don't know why you don't get that. If someone put a gun to your head and said, get a vaccine, and you're like, it's gonna be you get a vaccine or the brains are on or your brains on the wall, and you say, okay, give me the vaccine, that does not make you a hypocrite. Again, extemporaneous decisions in order to save your own life are not considered morally, you had no moral agency in that scenario. So you're not a hypocrite because you had no moral agency. You weren't allowed the choice. You had no luxury of choice. When I'm coerced, I mean, that's like saying that's like saying if a woman is raped, does that mean she had sex before marriage? Does that mean she's going to hell because she had sex before marriage? I mean, there's a lot of Christian people that say yes. Is that where you land on that? Because she was coerced, because she had no consent. If a woman is raped, does that mean she had sex before she was married? And in the eyes of God, she goes to hell? Huh? I get raped every year by the federal government. Every year they violate me. Every year they violate me. And I don't like it. You try to say you're trying to victim shame? Again, I'm steel manning every argument you throw at me, but no, if I have a gun to my head, I'm the victim. If you tie me down and beat me and take my money, that does not make me a willing participant. I did not consent. I do not consent to this government taking all this money from me, especially when I get nothing in return. I actually would be fine with it if I actually got something in return, but I get nothing. I don't see any value in providing my tax dollars to these assholes. I see no value in it. None. It is victim shaming. Saying someone like, I love people always say this, like, "Oh, you're a capitalist, but you have a Venmo. You're an anarchist, but you have a Venmo." And it's like, yeah, because I have to live. I have to live. By the way, Venmo, Skyjack Morgan, Cash App, Skyjack Morgan. I have to live. I have to breathe in this system that I was born into, that I didn't consent to. And so I rely on the kindness of my community in the form of super chats and whatnot. The more workers there are, the higher the wages. Tends to be. I mean, it depends on what kind of worker we're talking about. I mean, laborers, sometimes the wages don't go up. Used the same argument against me for not agreeing with the open borders. No, because you don't have a gun to your head. You're saying the United States, you're saying that the nation state should be able to control the movement of everyone on earth. And I don't think so, because I don't think that the legitimacy, I don't find the state legitimate power because of their unethical desire and proclivity to violence. You think that the state should be able to tell me when and where I can go and ration freedom, ration rights, which is unethical. It's unethical. Of course, I have a gun to my head. I know people who went to jail for tax evasion, of course. And also, there's famous people like Al Capone and shit that get them on tax evasion. But like, of course, I've known people who have gone to jail for tax evasion. I know people who have had major. My father got in trouble with taxes when someone embezzled money from his business, and the tax man still wanted their piece. That was crazy. Yeah, gun to your head. It's jail. It's jail or you pay me. That's a gun to your head. That's a gun to your head. The ethics of borders cannot be resolved without asking, what is the nation state for? What is the nation state for? Why do we have one? Is it for human flourishing? If nation states are for human flourishing, then borders that prevent human flourishing are indefensible because they prevent humans from flourishing. They separate us from humanity. They deny me my humanity. Now, people like Honest Doubter think that that's okay to deny humanity its humanity. After all, what makes a human human? Part of that is our desire to go places and do shit. That's why we're everywhere on Earth. This guy is not racist. He even protects animals. It's true. Why? Is someone saying racism? Thank you so much, the real McCoy. Thank you. I don't even know. Who's saying racist? I didn't see a comment about racism. Okay, racist. Do you think Michael Jackson was innocent? Innocent of what? Innocent about what? Tens of millions of the only people rigging elections are the minority GOP party that needs EC to win. I mean, I mean, like, Elon Musk paid millions of dollars to people to vote for Donald Trump. So, yeah, I think that would count as meddling. Also, there's Russian meddling. So, human flourishing is cool unless you're not a human. I mean, I think that, are you talking about non-human animals being exploited because of human flourishing? I think the exploitation of non-human animals is another thing keeping us from flourishing as humanity. A lot of people, I think humanity will never get to where they need to go because of our kind of zombie-like just obedience to the status quo and to these advertisers that tell us 10,000 times a day to eat the flesh of animals so that they can make money off of selling more grain. It's a sickening shell game, and it's keeping us from flourishing. Look at the disease caused by eating animals. Borders are imaginary nonsense. I obviously agree. You keep jumping from ideology to practicality. I'm saying there's a practical issue with 100% open borders, even though I agree ideologically. Well, I appreciate that you agree ideologically, but I don't see why the practice would matter. I don't see your argument to say practically that, first of all, if they're unethical, they're unethical. I mean, the argument that you're making is the same argument they make for vaccines. Sure, I agree with you that it's your body, your choice, but we all got to live here. And if you're sick, you're going to make other people sick. So you got to get vaccinated if you want to live here. Show me your papers. What's the difference? It's just practical. It's just practical. That's what Chip's argument is. Chip's argument is it's just practical. That if you all want to live in society, we're going to have to get you all vaccinated. You have to. It's just practical. That's what Chip's argument with the vac. You talk shit on Chip every single day, and I kind of agree with you, but then you don't carry that logic through to other. You don't apply the same logic to any other scenario. It's just practical. I disagree with borders, sure, but it's just practical that we have borders. We can't open them. Of course we can. Of course we can. The practical argument should be debated as with the... No, this shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. Because that's the practical argument of oppression. You're just using... Chip's argument is it's practical to make sure that everyone is vaccinated. It's just practical. So that the hospitals are overrun or whatever. It's just practical. We got to make sure that you're vaccinated. So you must do it. I'm going to limit your freedom because it's practical. It's easier for the state. It's easier for the state to deliver if we make you do certain things. If borders are for perpetuating a community's power, then borders are honest. Because that's what I think the right wing will say, that borders are there for community power, for the nation state's power. And I think that's honest, but it's also damning, because that means that power is based on white supremacy. It's based on ethnicity. It's based on the arbitrary lottery of life, saying that we are better than you because we're born here. The cosmopolitan is right. Birthplace is morally arbitrary. The communitarian is right. Community matters. But the anarchist insists you can have community without coercive exclusion. You don't have to coerce others. You don't have to exclude others in order to have community. A world organized around free movement is not a utopia, but it's a direction. It's a direction based on freedom and human dignity. Do you believe in human dignity or not? Does anybody believe in human dignity anymore? I mean, that's what I'm asking, really, I guess. Does anybody still believe in human dignity? Maybe they don't. The only border that matters morally is the one between those who are suffering and those who could help. Can you help? Then you should. What hard case do you think I missed? What hard case do you think I didn't handle? And what argument did I get wrong? Let's do it. Tell me which one I got wrong. Time is it. Thank you all for being Italian power. There you go, Italian power. Children are dying from measles because they are idiots. The children are idiots? Children are dying of... Oh, who's idiots? Who's an idiot? RFK Jr.? I mean, it seems like they... I mean, children are kind of stupid. It's not the children's fault. You love inflation. Yeah, everyone loves inflation now. Who's going to go watch the... I'm going to go watch the UFC now. This douche is all in for vaccine or vaccine mandates for children. This douche changes his mind with the wind blowing. I was? When was I all in for vaccine mandates? Who? America is dying slowly. Who said that? Who said that? Why vaccinate your dog for rabies? It's just the vets to get money off of you. Do people normally give rabies vaccinations? Is that normal? I don't know. It depends on where you live, though, right? It depends on how dangerous it is. Because, like, some places, rabies, like in California, we almost don't even have rabies. But in the Northeast, lots of rabies. Like, huge problem with rabies. It's crazy. Kids are stupid. There's zero integrity, zero responsibility amongst the pursuit of happiness country. They say we're all about pursuit of happiness, but lately, I don't think we are. I don't think we're for pursuit of happiness. We want to limit it. We want to ration happiness. We want to ration everything. We want to ration rights. Seems wrong to me. Will Trump shit himself before or after he falls asleep? Well, I don't know. Will he fall asleep during the UFC fight? It's starting any minute. Happy birthday, Mr. Trump. Happy birthday to you, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. It'll be like Marilyn Monroe jumping out of a cake. Who's going to jump out of the cake for his 80th birthday? He's gonna fall. You think asleep? You think asleep first? He's gonna fall asleep first. But should I put that in the? Should I put that in the polls? Should put that. Should we take a poll really fast to see? Let's take a poll really fast. See how it is. They say it might have thunderstorms. Do you think there'll be thunderstorms? Will there or won't there be thunderstorms in DC today? Thunderstorms and showers likely mainly before 10 p.m. Oof. Will there be thunderstorms on the UFC fight in front of the White House? Severe thunderstorms could be an uninvited and unwanted guest. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. Oh my gosh, that'd be so fucking funny. It's not going to happen, right? It won't happen. Donald Trump won't allow. Donald Trump controls the weather. He will not allow it. Will Trump, which will Trump do first? Which will Trump do first at his birthday party? Poop his pants, fall asleep. I think that he poops his pants when he falls asleep. I think that's what's happening. Like he falls asleep and he goes, and that's what wakes him up. You know, you ever see him? He's falling asleep and he wakes up. But I think what wakes him up is that his sphincter relaxes and he shits himself. I think that's what's happening. Which will he do first? You can't say both. You can't say poop his pants is at 50%. Wow, it's deadlocked, guys. It's deadlocked. Do you think Donald Trump will poop his pants or fall asleep first? I think he falls asleep and then is woken up by the poop. Because what wakes you up, you know? What wakes you up? Even as an adult, like if you have to use the bathroom, like you're sleeping and then you start thinking, oh my God, I have to piss. Oh, there's like you're swimming in a pool or something weird. Like your dreams tell you that you have to pee and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to piss the bed. And then you're like, baby, and you're like checking to make sure, you know, oh, okay, good. And then you jump out of bed and you go. You know what I'm talking about. We've all been there. I think Donald Trump has that. Like he falls asleep. And then he pooped already. He woke up. Oh, you guys think fall asleep 58? Did I sell it? Falls asleep, then shits himself. Yeah, I think for sure. They have a buzzer they shock him with. Maybe that's it. It does take a lot of energy to poo. So you think he poos, and then because of the energy that was expended, he falls asleep? I like it. Yeah, I think that's a good one too. Maybe he falls asleep. Yeah, there's two streams. There's a horizontal and vertical. YouTube still has not been able. They promised that eventually it will be a one, but they haven't been able to figure out how to keep the chat the same yet. I'm sorry. I don't know why. Pull out that Sharpie. Open borders take control from those with money. Right now, closed borders is what gives the control to the people with money. The people with money do not experience the friction that you do at borders. Closed the borders are open for the rich people already. You understand? The reason why they're closed is because they like it that way. They like to control you. They like to control the means of production. They like to make sure that you don't get crazy ideas by going someplace and quitting your job, because they don't want you to be able to just go someplace and quit your job. They don't want you to be able to do that shit. Fuck this, I'm leaving. They don't like that. They like you being right where you are. You're not going nowhere. They hate that shit. Imagine, you know how people say shit like, oh, people are leaving California to go to Texas. Great. If Texas is so great, everyone in California should go. If Texas is so great, everybody should go. If you found out, if tomorrow Oklahoma had the greatest, I don't know, healthcare, and everyone's like, shit, I'm moving to Oklahoma because they got the best healthcare, everyone should go. Why shouldn't they? But that should be a global thing. If Georgia, the country, in Tbilisi, Georgia, if they've got the greatest, I don't know, the best jobs in, if they've got the best jobs in if they got OnlyFans, they don't tax OnlyFans. They got free OnlyFans there. Then all the OnlyFans models should move there. Why not? They're not taxing OnlyFans. And they got free membership for all OnlyFans there. OnlyFans doesn't take a cut if you do it in Georgia. Okay, then everyone should move there. It should be up to them, not up to your government. The real McGoy says, a good thing they're not mud wrestling. Trump would add a lot of mud. Well, Donald Trump is adding a lot of mud anyway. It's going to be. It looks like fall asleep wins. Okay. I think that was a good poll. I think the next poll should be, will there be thunderstorms at Trump's party? Will there be thunderstorms at Trump's party? Thank you, Veg in the Woods. Because, man, wouldn't that be amazing? Thank you, Veg in the Woods. What do you think? Man, I think there might be. If there is, I would just, you're calling the thunder. Can we all do rain dances? I don't know how to do a rain dance. I don't want to diminish the great Lakota people, the tribes of the United States. But I mean, can we do rain dances? I don't know. Can we all just learn a rain dance and do it? Can we all pray really hard? They even had a pilot say his vision was harmed. Wow. Is Trump going to throw his hissy fit when his party ends up being an embarrassing failure? Well, it's already an embarrassing failure. Only certain people are allowed. There's all this controversy around it. It's divisive. People are pissed about it. Even Zach Brown. Is it Zach Brown who's performing? Is Zach Brown performing at the UFC? Yeah, Zach Brown performed the national anthem. Oh, already performed. He already performed, but everyone's talking about it. People are saying that he sucks, that he's a sellout, Zach Brown says that he's excited because he loves America. But people are like, he's like, I'm not political. And they're like, you're making a political statement by doing this UFC shit. And it's true. Like Zach Brown, I think of him as, I mean, he's a country star, right? And people, well, country stars are always a real patriotic. This isn't patriotism. This is not patriotism. And like, that's already a failure, right? That means that this is a failure. If Zach Brown can't even perform at this thing and not get shit for it, then yeah, I think that it's a failure. Anybody who's involved with it looks like an asshole. half the country is like, this is disgusting. That's a failure. If you throw a party and half the country thinks you're a disgusting piece of shit, I mean, that ain't good. That ain't a success. Metaphoric thunderstorm. I think that it's going to be bad, guys. I don't know. Is Joe Biden going to ruin Trump's party with his evil weather controlling machine? Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. But I thought that it was that the Jews control the weather. Wasn't that it? I thought the Jews, look out for the Jews. The Jews control the weather. That's what they always told me. And when I was in MAGA, they told me that the Jews control the weather. The global elites. Ooh, direct democracy. It's a great question. It's a great question. I think it's a great. In an anarchist community, if everyone votes to not allow someone to come in, is that ethical? So there's a new person coming in and everyone unanimously votes that this person cannot come in, or even just the majority votes that this person cannot come in. Is that ethical? I think it would be ethical only if they're not in any kind of danger, right? I think that voluntary association is what matters, right? Because the community defines the social contract, and the social contract, I don't know. If the social contract is guided by voluntary association, then I think maybe, because it isn't a centralized government, right? We have the right to not associate with others. And anarchism relies on mutual trust as mutual aid, right? Mutual aid has to be part of mutual trust. I think that, I don't know, it'd be hard because if it's unanimous, then I would say like that's pretty simple, right? But we would have to have that argument. We'd have that argument every time. So I think that'd be very interesting, right? Because you do have ideas like the tyranny of the majority, because we don't like the majoritarian idea, right? In anarchism. And anarchism is also about freedom of movement. We don't want to create outcasts. What do you think? What do you think? I don't know, man. Because like a consensus model, any single member can block an action if they feel it violates the community's core ethics. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that it would be an interesting case study. I think that we would have to have long deliberation and decide together, though. It's a great question. If a community votes, already you're talking about the dissolution of centralized power, right? But there's the tyranny of the majority, but one person should be able to block it. I think they would have that right. Your main gripe is with open borders is that the government is corrupt, which I agree with, but this example takes away that easy reply. Well, sure, it certainly complicates it in a world where we have deliberation and we can actually talk about these things, and we can actually bring that person in and talk about why and have that conversation. I think that's tremendously important and kind of a game changer, right? But open borders, I guess the other thing is I'm not limiting their movement, right? I'm limiting but in a mutual aid situation, someone is contributing, right? They contribute according to their ability and they take according to their need. When do we choose to exclude someone would have to be pretty well established, right? When do we, like, they would have to have, like, for example, the cartel member, like the evil, the dark evil man who comes in and he's covered in blood and he's got a long history of killing people in the last neighborhood, and he wants to join your neighborhood, and all of you and your neighbors get together, and should we take him in? I mean, after all, we don't want to create outcasts. That's unethical as well. So what do we do? Well, we have to decide whether or not to take this person in, and under what circumstances if we do. Pretty difficult. But I think we'd also try to establish what this person is going to contribute. If it's coming down to it, we'd have to try to figure out whether or not this person is worth the trouble, I suppose. And sometimes it'll be really obvious, like the guy covered in blood and a trail of bodies behind him. Like, that'll be really obvious. But there's other ones that aren't so obvious. But let's say we also have to have laws, or not necessarily laws, but mores, if you will, where if you're in a community and one of us does something horrible, we're in a community and one person, I don't know, does something horrible, like rape or something, what do we do? Those are good questions. And I think that if someone is an established criminal, then yeah, it's perfectly acceptable. If someone's an established criminal and has a long history of doing negative shit in their communities, sure. Sorry, you keep throwing sand every time you get in the sandbox. It's time you're not allowed in the sandbox anymore, And so we have to figure that out, and we have to come up to some consensus, whether that be through tribal councils or some kind of consensus, right? I don't know, but it certainly isn't as easy. Absolutely. Maybe Jeffrey Phillips would like to talk about it next week. He said he's going to come on next week. So not open borders. Yes, open borders. Yes, open borders, Johnny. What do you mean, LOL, not open borders? Yes, it is open borders. It's open borders. This idea that, look, it's not like someone shows up and they're like, hello, I'm a criminal. But if someone commits a crime, then you take them, right? Those things are already illegal. People who are criminals are already moving around. You don't really have that choice. You don't have that luxury of like stopping just the criminals. So this idea that we're going to just try to find the criminals, well, that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway. That's what the police are supposedly doing, right? That's what the police and the FBI are doing. They're hunting for criminals. That's their job, right? Supposedly, right? That's what they're supposed to be doing. So why aren't they finding them? They're coming across the border. Well, if you just close the borders, which they are closed. The borders are closed, and we still have criminals. They've been closed forever, and we still have criminals. It's inefficient to try to have a border where there's people trying to tell you these people can come in. It's completely inefficient. It's one of the most inefficient parts of government is border control. All the INS and CBP, all the ICE, all that shit. It's always been inefficient. It doesn't help. And I'm not just for open borders, I'm for the elimination of borders, just to make that really fucking clear. Crazy manipulative liars will always exist, but how do we find these things out? By some kind of morals or laws? Yeah, we find them out, and then we act accordingly. And they might not always exist, because even if they do exist that way, the motivation becomes irrelevant, right? Because usually people who are manipulative liars and stuff, they're doing it for for some ostensible purpose, right? They're doing it in order to enrich themselves or to amass power, to somehow build something for themselves. But if you're in a consensus group, if you're in a mutual aid consensus, then someone trying to amass power doesn't make much sense because no one has any more power than anybody else. If you're eliminating hierarchy, they can manipulate and lie all they want because there's no hierarchy. There's no way for them to climb to the top. If you eliminate the ladder, then no one can kick you off the ladder because there isn't a ladder. The police are too concerned with my taillight, right? Well, the police are supposed to be hunting down criminals, right? They're supposed to be hunting. That's what people think they're doing. They're Batman solving crimes, but they're not. They're not. They're keeping you in order. The community votes were not open. Then the community has not, doesn't have the type of values I'm talking about, right? The idea that of consensus and consent and freedom of movement and rejection of tyranny, rejection of hierarchy. I mean, there are going to be communities that sorry, I'm deleting this. Sometimes communities have this idea that our community is better than others, and that's the whole problem, right? That becomes an issue. But the very notion would be to allow people to move back and forth. And if you're doing a good job, then people will come to you. If you're running your community well, you bring people in. Think of it like Indian tribes used to do this. They used to have people come in, and they would even share people. They wouldn't even have, in order to settle disputes, someone from one community would go to the other, one would go to the other. But generally, people, when they want to move to another, they present themselves and they say, I want to come in, and they try to go with their principles, go with their ethical guidelines. And that's where the deliberation comes in, right? The point is that they cannot easily force an exclusion without deep deliberation. You understand? Again, we've talked about this before. If you're going to limit someone's rights, you better have a really good fucking reason. And I mean that the burden of evidence has to be tremendous. So if you're going to keep someone from moving, you have to have an incredibly good reason for that. You understand that? Yes, roam away. Exactly. It's not as complex. It's not that complex. No, because again, you're bringing up like, well, what if you're gish galloping? It's whataboutism, right? But like, to say that an open board, if I say that yes, each person deserves incredibly deep deliberation before we need to have a reason not to bring them in, not just a closed border saying we're going to decide who gets to come in. You see, everybody gets to come in. If the community decides that someone needs to be ostracized, excluded, imprisoned, executed, like these types of things, we need to have really fucking strong conversations about, deliberate, and we all need to agree. All of us need to agree. I don't think that's crazy. That if you want to limit someone's rights, it's got to be an incredible burden to do so. But right now, nation states just decide who gets to come and who gets to go. That's bullshit. It's not a debate on the reasons. It's a debate on whether it's a debate on whether we are adhering to our own ethical values. If we are behaving ethically, that's the debate, right? So if we say we are going to behave ethically and I don't know, we're humanists, right? Whatever. We believe in XYZ. Then we need to behave in that way all the time. And when we want to make decisions on something like, for example, life, liberty, and property, if we want to say everyone has the right to life and we want to take someone's life, then we better have a good fucking reason for it. Like an overwhelming burden. instead of one man making those decisions. That's right. One person dictating anyone's future is wild and beyond me. Exactly. We have freedom. It's freedom fundamentals. That's a good way of putting it. Yes. That's it. You either believe in freedom or you don't. This is why I say a man of principles. Either you believe that the state has the right to determine our futures, or we have the right to determine our futures. Again, with anarchism, and I guess maybe I take a looser approach to a lot of this because I don't like to subscribe to this like anarcho-communism or syndicalism and all this stuff. I don't really like to get into that because at this point, even though, I mean, I've read about that stuff, but it doesn't really matter to me because at this point right now, all I'm trying to say is that the people need to be in charge. We, the people, are the ones that need to be in charge of ourselves, of each other, and not the state, who has a long history of unspeakable violence, only exists because as a result of unspeakable violence, and is perpetrating violence against us every single day. That's it. Have the freedom to, like I said, not just the freedom to, I mean, like that seems like they could just exclude whoever the fuck they want whenever they want. They can do whatever they want, I suppose. But the idea would be under strict debate, deliberation, extreme burden to exclude anybody. And you need to have real good reason for it, not just say, well, that, because right now the people make some bullshit argument about my community will be eroded if a black person comes in. That's the way it is right now. You could still have a community with diversity. Exclusion does not help a community, it kills it. I mean, how did anarchist societies in revolutionary Spain handle community entry? Because there were during revolutionary Spain, anarchists, they did have voluntary association with strict security and economic needs. They had the right of non-participation. Anarchists in revolutionary Spain did not force everyone into the collectives. If a small landowner or newcomer did not want to join the commune, they were permitted to remain independent. However, to prevent exploitation, two strict rules applied to them. They could only own as much land as they could work themselves. They were forbidden from hiring wage labor, as employing others was viewed as capitalistic and hierarchical. Wow. Fucking interesting. So there you go. In revolutionary Spain, during the anarchist communities, they said, yeah, you don't even have to be one of us, but you can only own as much land as you can farm yourself. Pretty rad. Kind of cool. They just built different rules, general assemblies and mutual vetting. When a person or family wanted to join a rural collective such as those in Aragon, the decision was brought to the general assembly process. The entire village or workplace met to vote on economic plans and membership. Newcomers had to be sponsored or vetted to prove they were laborers, peasants, refugees, other than they just not fascist sympathizers, landlords, or spies. So, okay, they had to vet people saying they weren't fascist sympathizers, landlords, or spies. Interesting. So they had to be sponsored to get in. Interesting. So that's a good system, right? If somebody in the community needs to sponsor you to get in, I kind of like that. If the assembly voted to reject someone due to security concerns or refusal to work, that person was denied entry into the collective's the economic system. So the only reasons that they were excluded was refusal to work or security concerns. They had union-issued passports or credential because money was often abolished or replaced with local vouchers. Traveling between communities required a mechanism of trust. The anarchists used union-issued passports or credentials. If a traveler arrived at a commune, they presented a document from their home collective or factory committee confirming they were a worker in good standing. Without this credential, a commune could ethically turn a person away at their local boundaries due to wartime security. Direct exclusion and paseos. If a newcomer or existing resident actively worked against the community, such as hoarding food during a shortage, refusing to work whilst drawing resources, or assisting the fascist forces, the community used direct exclusion. Minor offenders were expelled from the collective, meaning they lost access to communal stores, free medical care, and dining halls. Executions. Because of the Civil War, those deemed an immediate physical threat or anti-revolutionary spy were dealt with through spontaneous community justice or wartime tribunals, sometimes resulting in execution. They did not have open borders for everyone. They protected their communities, though through decentralized democratic consensus, and required newcomers to contribute to the collective labor system to gain access to communal resources. So basically, anybody who wasn't an enemy of the state or anybody who didn't refuse to work. Yeah, that isn't an open border. No, you were asking me about anarchism. What the fuck? You asked me about how anarchists would work. How would we do it with anarchists? And I wanted to know how historically they did it in wartime Spain when they were fighting the fascists, because I knew that there were anarchist communities inside of Spain during the revolution. Fuck me, man. Yeah, that's not an open border. It's not. I just asked. It's not an open border. But that was because they were afraid of anti-revolutionary spies, and they were afraid of, and the people also would come in and hoard or do things. So they had to figure out, they had to have rules about that. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I have put up with so much racism. I have become numb to it. Man, have you ever lived in the South, Navia? When I lived in the South, I couldn't believe it. Well, they hated fascists. That was their principle, honest doubter. Those are pretty strict fucking rules, right? You're not allowed to be a fascist in my anarchist community. If you're a fascist coming in to fuck with us, we're gonna kill you. I've always had that principle. Yeah. Indians had different tribes. There were outcasts. There were tribes. Their tribes were usually based on family or mutual interests. No matter what, people will graduate to a certain group and feel closer. That's true, but people would also go from tribe to tribe. That happened all the time. Tribes weren't so exclusionary. Like, they would actually bring people. People would come. They'd just join a different tribe. That happened pretty frequently. It's pretty hard, but they did it. They did it. People fell in love. They married each other from different tribes. There were people going mixing it up. No, I haven't yet. Can imagine. I guess, like, in the South, it's just always shocking, like, how obvious the racism is. It's pretty weird. Everything you just read supports my case that a complex issue, the freedom. No, fuck, no, it doesn't. In a time of war, the fact that there were the anarchists during a time of war were building communes, that they wanted to have rules to keep out the fucking fascists. That doesn't surprise me. During the Spanish Revolution, I mean, that's why I wanted to know how they did it. It makes perfect sense. Right? Makes perfect sense. When you're surrounded by enemies, what are you going to do? Try to make the best of things. And that doesn't mean that it's a complicated issue. No. Borders are unethical. Borders are unethical. And anarchism is an attempt to become more democratic and become more self-reliant, more autonomy. I don't understand why you're pretzeling yourself in order to make sure that the state, it's complicated. Well, I guess vaccines are complicated too. It's complicated. It's complex. People should be forced to get vaccines. It's complex. It's very complex. No, it wasn't. It was during the Revolutionary War. Should I look up here? I'll look up something else. How do historical anarchist societies that are not inundated by wartime situations like the Spanish Revolution handle the idea of voluntary association and open borders? Peacetime anarchist projects and intentional communities handle voluntary association and open borders by balancing unrestricted entry into geographic spaces and with highly structured vetting for shared resources. Didn't I fucking say that in the beginning? Because they do not have to contend with wartime subversion. They decouple a person's right to exist in a space from their right to participate in the community's cooperative economy. Peaceful anarchist experiments ranging from 19th century intentional communities to modern autonomous regions manage this balance through distinct mechanism, separation of space versus association. In peacetime anarchist theory and practice, borders do not exist, meaning anyone can physically walk into or live near the community. However, voluntary association dictating economic participation is entirely separate. The open space, an outsider can move into any geographic area, set up their own dwelling, and live independently. The closed kitchen. The newcomer does not automatically get access to the community's shared tools, communal kitchens, or collective housing unless the community explicitly agrees to associate with them. The visitor period and trial membership. Without the rush of wartime, peacetime communities rely heavily on slow, deliberate integration. This is highly visible in long-standing, non-statist communities like Twin Oaks. The visitor phase. Anyone is allowed to visit for a designated period, usually 3 to 4 weeks, to experience the community. Mutual vetting. During this time, the community evaluates if the person's behavior aligns with their pacifist or egalitarian values. The evaluation. At the end of the trial, the community uses consensus to decide if the visitor can stay permanently. If a visitor actively acts against the community's agreements, they are asked to leave the collective property. Freedom of dissociation over restriction. In a peacetime anarchist framework, if a community cannot legally or ethically force an unwanted person to leave a public geographic space, the community exercises its own right to dissociate. Rather than locking a border, members will collectively refuse to trade with, speak to, or aid the problematic individual, a practice historically known as shunning or social ostracism. Because survival is in an anarchist region relies entirely on mutual aid, being socially excluded from the voluntary network usually causes the individual to move away on their own accord. Splintering, voting with your feet. When a peacetime community faces an unresolved disagreement about a newcomer or core principle, they reject majoritarian voting altogether. Instead, they use a process called fissioning. If 60% of a community wants to allow a controversial group of newcomers in and 40% strongly objects, they do not force a vote. Instead, the community splits. The 40% will voluntarily exit the association like a fair share or communal resources and start a sister commune nearby. Oh, I like that. The peacetime anarchist open borders applies to the earth, meaning no one has the right to stop a human from walking onto a piece of land. However, voluntary association applies to the group, meaning no individual can force a community to feed, house, or work with them without mutual consent. It is an open border. It's just that they have a time to whether or not they're going to be involved in the economy. It's just like a job interview. Same thing as a job interview. It's the same thing as a job interview. If we have like a collection of tools or books or like a library, if we have a library and we need to decide who's allowed to take books, and we allow you to take books, everybody's allowed to take books. And then everyone's allowed to come in and take a book. But then after 4 weeks, if you don't bring the book back, you're not allowed to borrow any more books. That's a vetting process. Every fucking library does it. That's anarchism for you. That's anarchism. You get to borrow any book you want. As many as you want, really. I think it's like limit is 15 or something. How many books do you want to borrow? You can borrow all the books. But if you don't bring them back and you just walk in with a smile on your face, I think you have to prove where you live, right? You have to prove that you live in that county, I think. But basically anybody can walk in. In fact, I remember I moved someplace from out of state and I said, I just got here. I don't have anything. And they're like, that's okay. You could still borrow a book. I didn't even have to prove where I lived. I remember they just gave me a fucking book when I moved to Las Vegas. They just gave me books, but they limited it to like 3 instead of 20 or whatever the fuck it is. And if I don't bring it back, they don't let me borrow any books. No, you are. I am not honest. I am not. Open borders does not mean everybody gets whatever job they want. It means that everyone's allowed to is allowed to go where they want. And if you could get a job wherever you go, look, everyone's allowed to go wherever they want. And when you come in, if you want to get a job, you can get a job. But someone's going to have to vet you at some point. That's at everything you fucking do, you're getting vetted. What are you talking about? God, that's frustrating. Well, then that's not open border. Yes, it is. Yes, it fucking is. Well, as soon as you have to get a job, if there's a boss there that says, I'm not going to hire you, that's not an open border. What? Well, that's not open. It's not open access to every fucking thing. Well, I've said multiple times that does not mean that you get access to fucking everything. I said that in the very beginning. In the very beginning of this show, I talked about how it does not mean that. I'm trying to go back to my notes. That open borders does not mean no nation, no law, and no community. That opponents conflate open borders with total statelessness, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about statelessness right now. I'm talking about open borders and the ability to move wherever the hell you want. Freedom of movement. The moral legitimacy of the border itself. Walls, detention, deportation. That's what I've been talking about this whole fucking time. That's so frustrating. Well, then it's not open border if there's a vetting process. Yes, of course there's a vetting process. If you come to my community, everyone's allowed in. I don't have guards out there. Everyone's allowed in. If you come in and you want to go to our tool library or our food bank, everyone's allowed to go and get whatever food they want here. Oh, you just got here and you want to just take as much food as you want? Cool. It's going to be 4 weeks. You could take as much food as you want. And we're just going to make sure that you're cool. And if you start hoarding all the food because you're a fucking loser, you're an asshole, then we're going to fucking boot you. Like, what are you talking about? Of course, like, if it's the same thing. If you have an open border, that's like saying, okay, if you have an open border and you come into our country and you kill a guy, you aren't following our rules. I'm going to put you in jail or send you to wherever the fuck you came from, I guess. If you have the means to do that, I think that's stupid. But if you come to my country and you break a law, like kill a guy, I'm going to send you to the gulag. Okay. We got a place just for you. We're going to send you to the gulag. Okay. Does that change? Because that's how it is right now with a closed border, right? We have a closed border. We're keeping all the laborers out, all the people that want to come in. But the bad guys we allow in, and if they break a law here, we send them to the gulag. With an open border, everyone's allowed to come in, and the good people can prove themselves, and the bad people we're still going to send to the gulag. Is that an open border? Yes. It is an open border. That's what an open border is. You get to come in and prove yourself. That's a meritocracy, right? Isn't that what a meritocracy is? Come in and show that you have some value to our community. And you don't have to have the bar isn't high, by the way, because everybody can contribute something. Some people, they're good at, I don't know, teaching kids how to read. Some people are good at being doctors. Some people are good at plowing fields. And each person does a job And if they are contributing to the community, they get to take as much food as they want. They get to use as many tools as they want. They get to read as many books at the library as they want if they're contributing to the community. In America, we do that in the form of taxes, right? If you live in this community and you pay taxes, then you get to go to the library as much as you want. I mean, up the street, there's even a library of things. There's a tool library in my in my county, not that far away. There's a tool library. And you can just borrow tools because I pay taxes. I'm allowed to because I contribute. That's how we do it here. In anarchism, you just get to, just because you're there, you get to do it. And if you're not working, people are like, what the fuck? The fuck, man? You're not pulling your weight. That's it. We are not vetting anybody. A closed border means closed border, which is what they say we have. It's not some border at point of entry. Everyone's allowed to come in. Yeah, you're allowed to go wherever you want. Where do useless people go? It depends on how useless they are, right? If you say useless, like let's say people are unable, there will always be a subsection of the community that you kind of have to drag along, and you try to find some place where they can contribute. Most people want to contribute even when they can't. Most people do, like even really the very, very old or the very, very disabled, they want to contribute. And a lot of times they can figure out something to do. Maybe they don't contribute at the level of like the teacher, but they could contribute something. Sure, they can. The useless, but there's always going to be some people that are kind of like that you're having to take care for. You're caring for. Some people contribute more, some people contribute less, but everyone has to contribute enough. That's what we do now. What do we do with our useless people here now? What do? We take care of them with food stamps and stuff. They're not useless. They just can't, for whatever reason, contribute as much as others. So we give them food stamps. We put them in jails. That's basically it. Those are the choices in America. We give them food stamps, or we put them in jail, or you give them job training. There's lots of things. I mean, if you want to talk about real fucking community, ethics of community, there's lots of interesting things where we can talk about, and there's lots of different theories about that. Like I'm currently reading Kropotkin's Conquest of Bread, but really I've read lots of Emma Goldman and lots of anarchist thinkers, and like how you organize a community is super interesting. But at the end of the day, again, if you want to get granular about it, it's kind of fun to imagine. But the truth is, right now, in this world that we live in 2026, on Donald Trump's birthday, all I'm saying is that I don't want the state to control where I can go. I don't want the state to control me at all. And I think that the power should be with the people and not the nation state. That's it. We'd have to go. We've already been going for 2 fucking hours, and I'm telling you, like, we could talk. There's been many, many books written about how tribes and communities organize. But overall, decentralization, no power to the nation state, no hierarchy, no one telling you where you can go. Pretty basic shit. Sky for LA mayor while in New Mexico. I would never want to be an executive. I would never want to be an executive. A city council member maybe, but an executive. And it's funny you say that. You know, I have a really close friend of mine was a councilman in Virginia, for a small town in Virginia for a long time. Not a small city, not a small town, a small city in Virginia. And I asked him, I'm like, because he's no longer in it. I said, did that hurt? And he goes, not as much. Like because he lost an election, he's no longer a city councilman. I said, did it hurt? And he goes, at first, a little bit. Of course, when you lose an election, it hurts. But at the same time, not as much as you'd think, because it's so much of it's like the city manager does a lot of things. And then they come to council and they're like, what do you think? And you're like rubber stamping a lot of shit. Yeah, looks good to me. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. And like the public debate stuff, even though it's fun, it's like high stakes and high stress. And the people are pissed off. And you have very little power because there's these other 5 people that you've got to actually be arguing with, so that you're sitting there just getting blasted by the community. Even if you're on their side, there's not much you can do because the other 5 people. And so it's like, I think council would be fun. I've never done city council. I think it'd be really fun. I didn't really run. I tried to be in city council once because the city council person that we ran against this guy for state legislature, he won, he beat us. So now there was this empty seat and they were going to appoint somebody. And it came down to 2 people and I was one of them and I lost. It was like 5 people applied. We all had to go up and get interviewed by city council. It was so fucking, because I'm in the hot seat and they're all up on this dais, you know, and they're all asking me these fucking questions. And man, I was in the newspaper and I didn't win, but I thought I would be pretty good at it. I thought I'd be good at it. I wouldn't want to be mayor because I think that executive stuff is, I was management my whole life. I don't really want to manage a city or something like that. Yeah. What's anarchist borders for him and open borders for everyone else? Yeah, there you go. Oh, anarchist borders for me and open borders for everybody else. Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Anyway, good topic. I disagree the points I made are hypocritical, that I'm not a man of principles because I engage in good faith dialogue. It's not because I'm not saying you're not a man of principles because of good faith dialogue. I'm saying that you aren't adhering to the principle that you've intimated repeatedly in our broadcast. You've repeatedly intimated a principle that the state should not control your bodily autonomy. But then when it comes to borders, you're like, yeah, but we need to weigh the practicality here. That's what I'm saying. Nothing about your good faith. I mean, I appreciate good faith arguments. I appreciate people who disagree with me. But because I know you, I know what you've said before. That is a contradiction of your stated values. That's why I said you're not a man of principles. Maybe that's a bit, I know when you call someone not a man of principle, it's a little insulting because of I don't mean to insult you. I just mean to say that you are not adhering to the values that you've espoused in the past. That's all I'm saying. I'm not gish galloping. I'm not gish galloping. But I am going to sign off. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you. Mamdani is okay so far. Mamdani's a little dictator in a city that doesn't run like any other city that I've ever, like. New York is a unique city. Most cities don't run like New York does. New York's a very old and powerful city with billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars that are basically at the whim of the mayor himself or herself. Yeah, I didn't slime you. I just slimed you. I did not slime you. Guys, I said, okay, if I think I'm being too hard, I said I'll apologize. Legitimately and sincerely, I apologize for saying you're not a man of principles. That's not what I meant to say, I suppose. I did mean to say it, but what I mean, I guess the spirit of what I said was that I think that you are contradicting the values that you have previously stated on this show. That's all I'm saying. I'm not gish galloping you, and I don't mean that to mitigate or take anything away from a sincere apology, because I know that words can hurt. I did not mean to hurt you with my words. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Even the people who disagree with me, I like that you're here. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, look at the garbage we have now. Because I think that leadership position only comes with hate. I don't think that you can lead a state or city. Executives, like, I think I don't know, I've led these large teams, and let me tell you, even at the top, you have all these bosses who are never happy with you, and then you have all these employees who are never happy with you, or they are sometimes. They're fickle. Like when you're an executive and you're a general manager or something, you have the government coming after you. You have the regulators coming after you. You have your the people you're leading coming after you. And you might make them happy, but they're still going to come after you. And you have your corporate overlords, your directors, your investors after you. So you're taking it from three, and then you have to add in, you have customers too, right? You have the people you're serving. So you have to lead this giant group, and they are never 100% happy, right? They're always a little pissed. You have the regulators, they're never 100% happy. They're always pissed. They're always looking for something. Then you have your corporate overlords, your investors, the money. They're always pissed. They're always looking for something to fuck you with. They're always angry about something, but they're happy sometimes. As long as you're doing what they like, then they're pretty happy, but they usually hate you too. And then you have your customers, in this case, the people of Los Angeles, for example, the people. You're supposed to be serving them. And they might be happy, but they're never 100% of that time happy. And there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something they hate you for. You're never going to make them all happy all the time. So you might even get one of these happy at some point. Oh, great. My customers are they stoked. My constituency, they love me. They're batshit crazy about me. They love me so much. I've done everything right. Doesn't matter because the corporations hate you, the regulators hate you, and your staff hates you. Because if you're doing everything for them, the staff hates you because you're basically not sticking up for them. You're not holding the line. The staff will hate you because you're doing everything for that. If it's always a shell game, it's always a whack-a-mole. You're playing whack-a-mole, and it's fun because you're constantly solving problems. But it's also you're working 100 hours a day, and you can't keep it going. It's very difficult to do that long term, and I don't know what change you're actually doing. You're not actually affecting change. You're just a servant. And I think that representing the people is much more what I want. I don't want to represent the corporations or also the executive that I'm talking about. You're representing all of those people. Well, you're serving the people, but you're really representing your staff, the corporate interests, and the regulators. I guess the regulators sort of represent the people, but at the same time, you're just like, I'm telling you, I've done this. I've done it, and it's rough. I'd much rather represent the people and try to get them a fair shake, because I don't think the people get a fair shake in this country. Anyway, that's the end of the day. I hope you all have a wonderful day. AHD is a genuine person. AHD is a genuine person. That's true. They're not a bot. Not a bot. All right. Yeah, well, yeah, to execute what the representatives wanted you to do, right? Regulators, mount up. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day. Don't take any wooden nickels. I guess we'll do a little afterglow, but then it's going to be really short though, because I have an open house. I have to clean up my house and do everything. Yeah. Thank you so much, Honest Doubter, for being here. I appreciate the friction. Friction is good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Illegitimate non-carborundum. Don't let the bastards grind you down. This is Ethical Underground. This is the Ethical Underground. Pray for rain, everybody. Pray for rain.
Put on your thinking caps. We can talk this through. The Ethical Underground is for thinking people like you.
Yeah, an open house. I don't want to do an open house, though. Ooh, everyone thinks it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain, everybody.
Join the resistance. The ethical underground is for people like you.
Members only starts right now, everybody.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so friggin' much.